Incompetent leaders embrace hiring quotas because hiring quotas will actually further their incompetence. And Chinua Achebe said, Nigeria is what it is today because her leaders are not what they should be. Hello, I am Ifeanyi Chikwane and you are welcome to my channel. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the federal character principle and quota system. I know in one way or the other you must have been affected by it, and so I decided to talk about the quota system, the good, the bad, and how it's affecting everything we do in Nigeria. Have you wondered why students from states in the southern part of Nigeria are actually required to score higher marks than those from the northern parts? Why does Kano has 44 local governments and Lagos has only 20? Why is the federal appointment we have in Nigeria lopsided in favor of one region? Why so many discrepancies and changes in our educational systems? Anyways, if you actually want to know, today's episode is going to talk very well about that. Before I proceed, I want you guys to know that the price of incompetence is always higher than that of corruption. Quota system was introduced into the Nigerian system in 1958, and it was for the sole aim of equitable representation of every ethnic group in Nigeria. However, it was not extended to the educational system, and as such, the northern part of Nigeria were lagging behind, while the southern part of Nigeria was progressive. Quota system was more like trying to make things easier so that every ethnic group would be well represented in the scheme of things in Nigeria as a day, even prior to the independence. It was more like to foster unity and give every Nigerian a sense of belonging. So the quota was just like 50% of quota was given to the northern region, while 25% was given to 25% each was given to the west and the eastern part of Nigeria. But fast forward to 1976, that was under Obasanjo. The northern leaders, after realizing that the quota system did not favor them educationally, actually were displeased, and there was a kind of violent protest that erupted, which made the Obasanjo-led administration to introduce the universal basic education that we know for everyone. But it didn't go down well with them. So they said they want the quota system that had already been introduced in 1958 to be enshrined into the Nigerian constitution so as to give them soft landing in terms of education, because they were attached the educationally disadvantaged region. Of course, they had their way, because in 1979, the federal character principle was introduced in Nigeria. And to be honest, that was the beginning of the fall of Nigeria to this point. Before I forget, there is a world of difference between quota system and federal character principle. Quota system was introduced to facilitate equal representation of every ethnic group in Nigerian public service, while federal character principle was actually introduced to enable the educationally disadvantaged states in the north to advance or grow up in terms of education. Technically, while quota system is working for equal representation of everyone, federal character principle is giving soft landing or an unfair advantage to states in the northern part of Nigeria in terms of education. By 1999, the twin policy had already saturated the system. Competence and merit and competitiveness was no longer the matter. Quota system replaced everything. I mean, how can a nation make progress when the best minds are not allowed to take over their due position due to a quota system? One of the things that makes me angry is the fact that two students will sit for an exam. One from Zamfara and the other from Osun. The one from Zamfara is expected to score only 2 out of 200, while the one from Osun is expected to score 127 out of 200 for same exam. If you are the one from Osun, how would you feel? Would you be happy to be judged based on the state you come from instead of your competence? This is the Nigerian state we have found ourselves since 1979 to date. Do you know that based on the current arrangements of our tertiary educational system in Nigeria, only 45% is by merit. The remaining 55% is by federal character and other stuff in the university. And the implication of this is that a potential candidate from the south that scored 260 in JAMB will likely not get admission before a potential candidate from the north who scored 200 or less would get. And my brow is that it's been 40 years and the educationally disadvantaged state has not shown any sign of improvement. There seems to be no noticeable improvement in their standard of education. So I ask, when will they catch up? The southern part of Nigeria has been kept at a state of equilibrium, pending when the northern part meets up educationally. And the grave implication of using the quota system in the 21st century is that it makes the southern educational advantage state to sacrifice merit on the altar of mediocrity in order to coexist with the north. Let me say this. The southern students are not in any way better or smarter than those in the north. The only difference is that while the southern students chose Western education, the northern students chose Islamic education. But the problem is that the southern students are expected to wait until the northern students meets up with Western education. And that is not fair. For God's sake, why should a brilliant student from the south be denied admission to a university because a quota system has reserved space for someone that doesn't value it? Do you know that in Nigeria, every calendar year, some slots are reserved for the educationally disadvantaged states, which most time nobody takes it up. Whereas the same calendar year, most of them qualified students are never given admission. The issue here is that it is good to help the educationally disadvantaged states, but not to the detriment of others. Aside our educational system, quota system has been incorporated in our law book such that it empowers the federal government to recruit people that are not qualified for any post. Merit, competence, and experience do not count as long as quota system is in place. And the irony of the matter is that the introduction of quota system in Nigeria simply shows that Nigeria is on the path of injustice, because competent people will never occupy the post of leadership in Nigeria. We have a system whereby you put a round peg in a square hole. It will not work. The system is skewed to favor those from a particular sector against others. Quota system killed patriotism in Nigeria. I wonder who amongst you will allow a doctor that is a product of quota system to operate on him or her? I'm sure nobody will, but we allowed it to control our healthcare, our education, our immigration, our custom, our armed forces. Almost all areas in Nigeria is being controlled by quota system. Now, it has given life to tribalism. It has divided us. It has increased corruption. See, when a bad policy is left unchecked, and people start tolerating it, it destroys the whole system. Quota system has done so. Therefore, quota system needs to be abolished now, or it's going to abolish Nigeria. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any reservation, kindly drop it on the comment section. Don't forget, please like, share, and subscribe. Catch you up next week. Bye.